My name is Ajay. I have a day job in the corporate sector, and I've been doing this corporate job for more than 2 decades now. And I'm by temperament somebody who have always been attracted to pursuits like creative writing, poetry especially. I consider myself as someone who's introverted, but who's somehow managed to do okay in the corporate sector. I've always wanted to understand or find out a method through which each of us as human beings can change ourselves and make ourselves into happier and calmer and less anxious people. This offers hope for a method of self-healing where through practice, each of us have the potential to lead lives which are happier with less anxiety. And I also thought this is probably one way in which the planet itself can heal if everybody heals a little bit. So that is how I got drawn to meditation. I think partly my curiosity for mind, partly my passion for self-discovery, a personal crisis, the need for something evidence-based, and my own experience. And that's how I got stuck into this particular journey. It is an evidence-based method which traces its roots to an approach which was roughly similar, which is believed to have existed in the Nalanda University of ancient India. It was a method which is meant to eradicate the restlessness and the unhappiness that individuals suffer. And through a program which has within it mindfulness-based meditation and mindfulness-based contemplative practice as a foundation. It also has compassion-based contemplative practices and meditation. It also incorporates certain Tibetan methods which are broadly put concerned with visualization, and it also incorporates elements of breath work from some of the earlier Indian traditions. And an amalgamation of these, when practiced repeatedly, induces a certain kinds of change in the brain at a very physical level. And it creates conditions for neuroplasticity. More and more today we know in neuroscience, a brain is not a fixed entity. It is malleable. It can change for the better or for the worse, as in the case of addiction. And CBRT draws on that particular insight. And what it does do, like every other therapy, is through a repeated practice of a method, begins to sculpt the brain in a way which is consistent with calmness and consistent with a less stressful way of living. Most of our unhappiness that we as a species experience today arises because we are continually on a survival mode. So the brain evolved early on in our history as a species as an organ to help us with survival. Find food, evade predators, find a mate, and regenerate the species in that way. But we got stuck in that mode, even though the world around us has changed, and today we don't have the same dangers which existed. many thousands of years back, which our forefathers had to contend with. But that same survival mode keeps us on edge and keeps us distracted. And that kind of existence or mental condition seems to correlate with every psychopathology that we see nowadays. So, what CBRT tries to do is to rewire the brain, take us away from that conditioning where we operate on a survival mode, and instead learn how to slow down and activate parts of the brain which give you a far more lasting happiness, far less anxiety, and most importantly, the ability to choose your emotional response mindfully and rather than automatically. So it's a kind of an antidote to the automatic, frenzied, conditioned living that all of us take for granted and all of us live through. And this kind of puts a pause button on that. This is probably one way in which the planet itself can heal if everybody heals a little bit.